Radio home for Buckeyes football. 1410 WING, Dayton's ESPN Radio. The Justin Kinner Show, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we are off and rolling here on a Thursday. The Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. We have a ton to get into. Of course, we were going to talk about, some of the Dayton Flyers that made their debut in the NBA this week, or not really debut, but the season debut. They tipped off the 2025 NBA season, but the NBA is not really going to be talked about as far as the product on the floor. It's another scandal that's hitting the world of professional basketball. We'll talk about that more in depth coming up here. Just around the corner, a conversation with Jason Fitz as we talk all things Browns, Bengals, and Buckeyes. Joe Flacco and the Bengals looking to even the record back up at 500 with the matchup with the Jets coming up this weekend. The Browns have the Patriots. We'll get into all of that. Solomon Wilcots will join us coming up here, former Cincinnati Bengal, around the corner as well. But let's kick off the show. Just because the Buckeyes have a bye week doesn't mean that we put off talking Buckeyes any chance we get, especially when we have a chance to bring on the voice of the Buckeyes, and that's who's joining us now, Mr. Paul Keels. Paul, welcome, sir. Happy Thursday.
Thank you. How you doing, Justin?
I'm doing good. You got a bye week coming up, and we'll talk about that more in a moment as far as what Ohio State's going to do preparing with this extra week for Penn State. But Wisconsin, we knew it had the potential to be a blowout, and that it was, but it was a shutout. The defense just continuing to do what it's been doing all season, and that's dominating its opponent.
Yeah, and I think the other part of it, too, that you have to take into consideration with that is the issues Wisconsin had. They were playing basically with a third-string quarterback. They had lost their lead tailback the week before. The guy that started the tailback got hurt during that football game. So Ohio State was able to really kind of take advantage of that. But, the defense did their part to make it difficult as far as the exchange of field position for the most part. And offensively, you saw the passing game really go into a high gear. They were able to strike early with that long touchdown pass to Carnell Tate and just take advantage of some of the deficiencies that Wisconsin has. But it's not to put it all on the Badgers. Certainly Ohio State went out there with a plan. They went out there with the right kind of focus, and they were able to, score a road shutout in the Big Ten. That's kind of a rarity.
Especially a team like Wisconsin, regardless of how down they are, and to do it on the road, that the way they did. Look, they're 7 games in, and you talked about it, that the pass game just seems like it just went to another level this past Saturday as they head into the bye week preparing for Penn State. The scary thing is they're the number 1 team in the country. They're undefeated, the defending national champions, and I don't even think we've seen the best of this team yet. Paul, do you just see that this team's just continuing to get better and better, and that's the scary thing for the rest of college football?
Yeah, I think so, and especially, Justin, certainly defensively, offensively, yes, better, but still areas to grow. I think, fans as well as the coaches would like to see the running game step up a little more, not only as far as having explosive plays, just to create a little more balance. There was a couple of issues, one in particular that arose on special teams in that game when, Wisconsin's punter took off because of a high snap. It wasn't a called fake punt, but he was able to pick up a first down. And while it's improved, they're still looking to get a little more out of their return game. So there's areas, and again, this is listening to Ryan Day and his constant mantra of looking to improve. So there are those areas, but it's a team that is playing at a very high level. And, when a season ends, people aren't necessarily asking how you got there. It's just the fact that they got there with no losses.
Yeah, and Paul, the other thing about it, too, is with their deficiencies, sometimes their deficiencies don't seem as drastic when you're blowing opponents out as regularly as what they're doing. I am curious when they find themselves in that first close game, 1-possession game, heading into the final minutes of, the fourth quarter. Obviously, we'll learn about them when that time comes, if that time comes. And the next opportunity for that to happen, not this Saturday because the bye week, but, of course, Penn State. I've said all week as we were heading into that matchup here in just over a week that Penn State, they're not going to get to the playoff. They're not going to win a national championship. They fired their coach. They're not going to accomplish anything that they looked to accomplish this season. And the only way to salvage it, just to feel like you accomplished something in 2025, is to go into this matchup and do everything you can to beat the Buckeyes. I'm very fascinated to see what this matchup's going to bring, mainly because of the fact that Penn State, they have nothing to lose and everything to play for at this point to try to salvage what has been a horrific 25 season for them.
Well, and also what's going on, they have a bye this weekend as well, so that gives Ethan Gruckemeyer, their quarterback, another week to try and get up to speed with what they need to do now that Drew Aller is out for the season. So, but again, it's drinking the Kool-Aid of Ryan Day. It's, opponents are going to bring their best shot. Even though the game is in Columbus, you have to expect that. And like you said, you have to expect that Penn State approaches it as a way to try and salvage something out of a season that has fallen far short of what their goals are.
Paul Keels, voice of the Buckeyes, joining us here on a Thursday. No game on Saturday for the Buckeyes. Their second bye week of the season, of course, but the Buckeyes are off, but the Big Ten is not. Paul, before we let you go, we'll take a quick spin throughout the Big Ten. Washington going to welcome in top 25 Illinois. Illinois cracks the top 25 once again. They're 5-2. Washington, who we were all big advocates for, kind of laid an egg this past weekend, of course, but they're 5-2. They have top 25 Illinois coming to town, a chance to ride the ship after a tough loss last week against Michigan.
Well, certainly for Washington, with the way that they have the potential to play, you like what they can do, especially on offense. But, Illinois' got some offensive weapons. I think they could really give Washington's defense trouble, especially if they're able to get some good things going early. Yes, it's a road game, and that's a tough environment to play in as well. But certainly Luke Altmaier has shown the ability to make some big plays. They've got some players, the receivers that can do some things. Defensively, they've had some injuries, especially on the back end. So if they're able to contain Washington offensively, I like Illinois' chances of making the game out of this. Don't know if I would say that I would put money on them to win, especially not since you've been talking about gambling scandals. We don't want to go there, but certainly like the possibility that Illinois can go in there and make a game out of it in Seattle.
Michigan State's at home, a rivalry matchup this weekend between the Spartans and, of course, the Wolverines. Top 25 Michigan on the road, a 14.5-point favorite on the road. They're 5-2. Michigan's doing their thing. I still feel like we're trying to figure out just exactly who they are, but another opportunity to get a big win against a rival this weekend.
Well, and if Michigan can run the ball the way they have most of the season, that certainly allows them the opportunity to kind of control how the game is going. Now, I know Justice Haynes did not play last week for Michigan. Jordan Marshall had a really nice game. And, we're continuing to see the growth of Underwood at quarterback. And, Michigan State is still kind of floundering out there someplace. It's amazing. People seem to think that, not anybody that counts, certainly, but that Michigan State might be poised for a coaching change after this year, after just 2 seasons of Jonathan Smith. But even though it's in East Lansing, you like Michigan if they're able to run the ball the way they've shown the ability to do.
Indiana, number 2 team in the country, undefeated. They are at home, and they are going up against the 3-0 UCLA Bruins. Now, I know they're 3-4, but Cignetti doing his best job to help motivate his team right now, trying to convince his team that don't let that 4 losses kind of get in the way of your mentality, because this has been a very good football team over the last month. They've knocked off Penn State. They've rolled through teams over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, UCLA is a much different team. Indiana should win this one, but it is interesting. UCLA has people's attention.
And I would agree exactly what you're saying, Justin. You would like the way that Indiana's playing and what they've got going. They should win this game. But who is UCLA right now? I think that's the question that maybe they don't even know. They've surprised people with the way they've played, but how long can you continue to surprise people given the issues they had that led to their coaching change?
All right, good stuff. Paul Keels, voice of the Buckeyes. Paul, what do you do on a bye week? I mean, you're always working, it seems. Are you going to get an off day on Saturday? What does Paul Keels do on a bye week?
Friday and Saturday off, but Ohio State's exhibition basketball game is Sunday. They're playing Ohio University, so a little bit of work there.
There you go. Well, enjoy your Saturday off, and we're looking forward to hearing you on the call on Sunday. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it as always.
You got it, Justin. Take care.
All right, good stuff. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Every Thursday, we kick off the show with the voice of the Buckeyes, Paul Keels, even on a bye week, making time for us, so we really appreciate that nonetheless. All right, another sports betting scandal that is rocking the sports world, this time on the side of basketball. Basketball, the NBA is slowly starting to turn into what Major League Baseball was for the longest time, and I'll explain my take on that when we come back. We'll also talk Bengals and Jets coming up around the corner. The Browns have the Patriots this weekend. We got a ton to get into. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. The OHSAA announced the text and voting dates for the emergency NIL bylaw. The Ohio High School Athletic Association Board of Directors on Thursday set the dates for the member high schools in which they will vote on an emergency bylaw referendum on name, image, and likeness. Schools will cast their votes from November 17th through the 21st, with the high school principals submitting the vote on behalf of the school. In addition, the full text of the bylaw proposal is included in a statement and in an email and a release that was sent to all media a little bit ago. We'll have that and release that coming up here shortly. The board approved the language as its September meeting in preparation for a vote of member schools during the regular referendum voting process in early May or sooner due to legal action as permitted by the OHSAA bylaw, blah, 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 the legal mumbo jumbo stuff. Man, sports is messy right now, from high school to college to the pros. How about what's going on in the NBA today? What a mess. And I see a lot of people doing this is why we got to get sports betting out of sports. And I'm not I love placing bets on sports games. I don't bet an obscene amount of money. I don't even place bets every week. I don't have a problem. Now, again, most people have a problem. They think they don't have a problem. I don't know. Maybe I have a problem. But I guess hear me out on this. I just feel like I don't feel bad for athletes when they're told you're not allowed to bet on sports when you are living a luxury lifestyle playing professional sports. That is a privilege to play professional sports. And if, all the normal people get to place bets on sports, how come I can't place bets? I don't feel bad for you. You're not a victim. Athletes are not victims because they are asked not to bet on sports when they are a professional athlete. I'll never sympathize with professional athletes. I don't know. Our generation has definitely we have been so soft and a bunch of crybabies over the last 10, 20 years for sure. But one of the biggest things that we've done is we've softened these professional athletes who make millions of dollars, they're just victims in everything. And they're not. They're living a lifestyle that we would kill to live just for even one day. So if the one thing that we're allowed to do that they can't do is bet on sports, oh, well, good for us. Good for the little guys. Good for the little guys and gals like us then. I don't feel bad for professional athletes, and I definitely don't feel bad for Chauncey Billups. I don't feel bad for Damon Williams. I don't feel bad for any athlete that gets caught up in this. I didn't feel bad for Pete Rose, really. I mean, these are simple rules that you have to follow. There's rules I have to follow at my job. There's rules that you have to follow at your job. Some of the rules are ridiculous. Some of the rules are stupid. Some of the rules at your job you probably think is absolutely insane and just absolutely moronic. But guess what? You follow the rules or you get fired. You follow the rules or you get in trouble. There's some kind of, you're held accountability that comes with breaking those rules. And yes, I'm sounding very much so, and Kev always makes fun of me for this, but the rules are the rules. But I don't think that I am crazy for expecting millionaire professional athletes, to not be I get why people who don't have a lot of money, and by the way, it's kind of stupid if you don't have a lot of money, don't bet on sports. Use that money to try to do everything you can to help improve your quality of life. Don't be wasting it on sports gambling. What the problem is those who don't have a lot of money that do like to bet or gamble, whether it's scratch off tickets or Keno. Shout out to the Keno folk. We all love Keno. Let's be clear, right? I don't have a problem. But the point is, we don't make millions of dollars. We would love to get that one winning scratch off, that one Powerball, that one parlay that might just make our damn week. But you want me to feel bad for the millionaire athletes who have everything in the world because they can't bet on sports? I don't feel bad for them. The amount of losers on social media today that have actually tried to sympathize with these guys, I just feel bad because they can't play sport. We could place bets, but they can't play. No. No. Absolutely not. There's all these kinds of, I work in media. We give away a lot of stuff here. We do a lot of contesting. We do our once a quarter. We do our, we just last week, if you listen to the Rich Eisen show or the Justin Kinner show, you had opportunities to win $2,000. Well, guess what? I'm not allowed to participate in that. My wife, who is listening to our stations throughout the day, not just 1410 ESPN Radio, but she listens to Hot 1029. She listens to Z93. She's listening to those stations, and they're offering these $2,000 a day contests. She wants to have the fun that you guys get to have. She wants to be able to send the winning word in. And guess what? Anyone that works for the radio station, anybody that any family members of those, you're not allowed to participate in those. You're not allowed to have fun or win that money. Oh, come on. The poor victims, our families, our victims, they don't get to have fun. It's just, we work in radio. It's a conflict of interest for me or my family members to win a contest that I could have easily rigged if you know what I mean? Like, come on. It makes sense. It makes sense why the NBA doesn't want you betting on sports. It makes sense why baseball has always been against it. Oh, but they're hypocrites. They're hypocrites because, they have the sports, everything's presented by FanDuel and all this stuff. Yeah, and there's a lot of things that, my show, can have an alcohol sponsor. It doesn't mean I can crack open a beer live on the air. I would love that, by the way. There's some days I really wish I could just throw back quite a few drinks on the air. Oh, man, I can't believe your boss won't let you drink on the air. Your show's presented by Heineken. What the hell? I know. I'm a victim. Feel bad for me. Oh, the NBA is presented by FanDuel. You can't bet on sports. You're a victim. No, you're not. It's called being an adult and following the rules. It's as simple as that. It's not even a bad rule. It's not even a big deal. I don't feel bad for Chauncey Billups. I don't feel bad for Damon Williams. I don't feel bad for any of these clowns that get caught up in this stuff because they know better. They know better. Portland Trailblazers head coach, leader of men, Chauncey Billups, Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, and former Cleveland Cavaliers player and assistant coach Damon Jones. I said Williams earlier, my apologies. Damon Jones have all been arrested as a part of a pair of wide-ranging investigations related to illegal sports betting and rigged poker games backed by the mafia. This isn't, oh man, I had my buddy place us, my teammate's not healthy and going to play today. So I had my buddy place a bet on the game before the injury was announced so that I can make a little coin on the side. No, you're getting involved in stuff that involves the mafia. I don't feel bad for you. This wasn't temptation was put in front of you because there's a DraftKings ticker at the bottom of the ESPN Sports Center. You crybaby. I don't feel bad for you. I don't. There's a lot of alcohol sponsors when it comes to the NBA and the NFL. I don't see Joe Burrow cracking open a beer in the middle of a game. Hey, Joe Burrow, you can't do that. Put that beer down. Oh, come on, Kenner. Bud Light sponsors they sponsor the NFL. That's very hypocritical, not letting us drink in the middle of a game, but yet it's brought to you by Bud Light. See how stupid that sounds? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. I will never understand the people that, man, the NBA, they're just hypocritical. No, they're not. Baseball's not hypocritical. It's not hypocritical to have an alcohol sponsor and expect you not to drink on the job. It's not come on, what are we doing? It's not hypocritical to have a sports book sponsor your program, your sport, your whatever, and expect your athletes not to partake in it. And by the way, all logistical, all really good reasons, by the way. Everyone's like, see, this is why you shouldn't have sports betting, around sports, or this is why you shouldn't have your athletes betting on sports because this. And by the way, this isn't happening because sports betting is legal. This stuff was happening even when it wasn't legal. And at least it's more easier to track now that it is legal. The sports books could track this significantly more, and it is a lot easier, which is why basically these sports books, who, by the way, are not pro-athlete in this, they're not defending the athletes, you're robbing them out of money. They're going to give all this information, any kind of red flags that pop up. They want to put that information in front of the FBI because that's their money that you're messing with. I am so amazed at how many people have said that the NBA is the problem. The NBA is the problem for sports betting. That Major League Baseball is a problem for, we watch the Reds. If you're not listening to it right here, Dayton's radio, home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN radio. If you're not listening to it on the radio, you're watching it on FanDuel TV. Oh my gosh, it's so hypocritical of the Reds and baseball. Look what they did to Pete Rose. No, Pete Rose did that to Pete Rose, and I was a Pete Rose defender. All right, when it came to the sports betting stuff, and not really sports betting stuff, I was a Pete Rose defender in regards to I was pissed off that Major League Baseball actually kind of pulled his lifetime ban to allow him to get into the Hall of Fame at some point. because it seemed personal. It was like a personal attack on Pete. I would have respected Rob Manfred more if even, after Pete Rose passed, if they would have just said, no, we are not lifting his name from the lifetime ban list. He's staying on there. I would have been completely fine with that. I would have respected it from Rob Manfred. I just thought it was a very petty move on the technicality of, well, it's a lifetime ban. He served it. His life is done. So there you go. I mean, come on. I am in the minority on this. I just don't find it hypocritical of baseball at all to say, hey, you are not allowed to bet on baseball. I think that's a fair rule. Why would you be allowed to bet on the sport that you play when you basically have all the information, all the knowledge ahead? You know what I mean? Like, this isn't that difficult. I have no clue why. Like, I think it makes a lot of sense. You could bet on other sports. You can't bet on your particular sport. You're not a victim. Athletes aren't victims here. They're idiots if they get caught and when they get caught. It's as simple as that. I don't feel bad for athletes. I don't. Oh, you're just jealous of their lifestyle. Yeah, I am. I don't know why we always have such a negative connotation with the word jealousy, because it's a very simple phrase. Jealousy means they have something that you want. It's as simple as that you want what they have. Do I want millions of dollars like all these athletes? Absolutely. Do I think that I wouldn't make mistakes like them if I had all their money? I would like to think so. I probably would make mistakes, just like you guys would make mistakes. And some of you do make a lot of money and listen to this show, and you probably make mistakes, and some of you don't, because some of you are adults. And I'd like to think that I'd be an adult if I ever came across a lot of money like that. But the bottom line is it's a privilege to play in the National Basketball Association. It's a privilege to play in the NHL or Major League Baseball, the NFL, anywhere. So if having a job that puts you in position to make millions and millions of dollars, and one of the rules is, hey guys, don't bet on the sport. Don't get involved in, sports betting, gambling, and all this stuff. If it's just a little sacrifice you have to make, then so be it. Go on with your rich little lives and stop trying to pretend to be a victim in every little thing in life, because you're not. You're not. Like I said, like this is how I'll always look at it. Baseball is not hypocritical for getting in bed with FanDuel and DraftKings and everybody else. They don't allow their athletes to bet on sports, and they get in bed with FanDuel and DraftKings. They're not hypocritical. Hunter Greene is not allowed to bring, they're not allowed to bring a handle of captain out on the mound and chug before they pitch. You can't drink, during a game, right? Well, that's hypocritical. That fan cam replay brought to you by Budweiser. So hypocritical. I can't believe they have Budweiser sponsors, but the players can't drink in the middle of a game. Yeah. Same damn thing. 937-518-1410. This is a player problem. It's a bad decision-making problem on the athletes. They have to be held accountable, not to make bad decisions and not to be idiots. It's the same thing when it comes to, pretty much anything in life. Guns, all that fun stuff, right, that we all don't want to talk about. We're not going to talk about. Alcohol. Any opportunity you can to make the right or the wrong choice, you have that power. Nobody else. You have that power. Chauncey Billups made the wrong choice when it came to this. Damon Jones made the wrong choice when it came to this. Not the NBA. The NBA, oh man, if it wasn't for the NBA, yeah, it's the NBA's fault that Chauncey Billups was having weird laser contacts with the mafia. What the hell are we doing here? Chauncey Billups isn't a victim. I saw Justina Anderson put out a tweet today that from a very reliable GM in the NBA, he's a very good person. I'm sure he's a swell person. It doesn't matter. He duped a lot of people out of a lot of money working with the mafia or being involved in the mafia in some capacity. Chauncey Billups, you made millions and millions and millions throughout your playing career. You're a Hall of Famer. Just inducted into the Hall of Fame. You are now a head coach in the NBA. All right, what are you doing being involved in any of this stuff? Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane, nonetheless. And again, allegedly, that's fine. Yes, allegedly, all that fun stuff, throwing that out there. But at the end of the day, where there's smoke, there's fire. And really shouldn't be around a lot of the stuff that they've been around, knowing how close they are to the league still and everything along those lines. But man, oh man, there seems to be a lot of layers to this. A total of 34 people were arrested as a result of a year-long investigation covering 11 states and involving tens of millions of dollars. FBI Director Kash Patel passed along to reporters. Law enforcement officials said that multiple charges involve 4 mafia families and organized crime networks, with Patel saying of the money involved that the fraud is mind-boggling. Allegedly. Mind-boggling. So Terry Rozier, he was arrested this morning as well at a hotel in Orlando, okay? Now, he's being accused of participating in an illegal sports betting scheme using insider NBA information, okay? Part of the scheme, gamblers used non-public information to bet on 7 NBA games between March of 2023 and March of 2024. And this involved the Hornets, the Orlando Magic, the Trailblazers, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Toronto Raptors, according to this indictment. Now, in 3 of the 7 games, players intentionally removed themselves from contests to benefit the gamblers' bets, according to this indictment, okay? And this is the stuff that, of course, everyone has to worry about when it comes to this. But keep in mind, whether sports betting is legal or not illegal, this has always been happening. This is not a sports gambling problem. These are guys who are criminals. They're making criminal decisions. It's as simple as that. They're making criminal decisions. I mean, I don't feel bad for these guys. Like, they know what they're doing. They know the risks, and they know what they're doing. Now, Chauncey Billups, to my knowledge, or at least from what I've read, has not really been involved in any kind of fixing of games or kind of making decisions that would alter prop bets and the over-unders and those types of outcomes. Chauncey Billups, who was arrested, he was arrested in Oregon, by the way. He's charged in a separate indictment, alleging a wide-ranging scheme to rig underground poker games that were backed by mafia families. The defendants are accused of using technology to steal millions from victims in the New York area. I mean, what are we doing? This isn't like this stuff is wild. This stuff is crazy that's going on right now. Like, I feel like I'm watching, I mean, there is I feel like I'm watching Law and Order. I feel like I'm watching Criminal Minds. I feel like I'm watching one of those, those crime dramas, on network TV. Pretty crazy at the end of the day how all of this stuff is unfolded. And I don't think we're done. I mean, it sounds like there's going to be more and more that comes of this. Who knows? But in the meantime, here's a name I completely forgot about. Tiago Splitter. The Portland Trailblazers assistant coach Tiago Splitter, according to Shams, will assume the head coaching position in the interim in place of Chauncey Billups. Now, the reason that's, as we sit here right now, Toumani Camara, shout out to Toumani Camara. Last night, 10 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. I mean, he did a little of everything last night. Shout out to Toumani Camara. But that's probably the last time he'll play for Chauncey Billups. But this does, there's not a local tie-in here technically, but Tiago Splitter is Toumani Camara's new head coach. So there's that. But what a wild day. I mean, and some of the stuff. I mean, like, guys, so in that article that talked about Chauncey Billups and the mafia family involvement with the underground poker scheme. Okay. I mean, again, this was a wide-ranging scheme to rig underground poker games that were backed by mafia families, according to authorities. The defendants are accused of using technology to steal millions from victims in the New York area. So you might be asking, some of you guys know this stuff. You have social media. Some of you might just be at work and not really getting all the details yet. Do you guys want to know what the details of some of the technology that was being used to steal millions from people? Like, this is like unheard of. So how about this? In this underground poker league game, whatever's going on down there, X-ray machines were built into the tables to read face-down cards. X-ray machines were built into the tables so that they can read the cards face down on the table. I have my glasses on today. I love contacts. I wish I could keep my contacts, and my allergies are just driving me nuts. Okay. I hate wearing glasses. I hate it with the passion. I wish I could actually just get that LASIK done. I should just get that LASIK done, but my contacts, I can't keep them in my eye to save my damn life with the allergies right now. But how about this? Allegedly, Chauncey Billups and those involved in this underground scheme that used technology to rig and steal millions from New Yorkers. These individuals wore contact lenses and glasses that would put them in position to read pre-marked cards. There was also secret cameras in the card trays, X-ray machines, hidden cameras in the card trays. I mean, contact lenses that had special technology built in to where they could only them with those contacts can see the marked cards. I mean, this is impressive stuff. This is right out of a movie. Yeah, I mean, Shaw says, I feel like I'm watching The Sopranos. Yeah, this is good stuff. This is coming to some show near you. A movie will be made about this, or a show or something. Wild, wild, wild. All right, 937-518-1410. Your guys' thoughts on all of this. I don't think that the NBA has done anything wrong here. I think that the players are the ones doing that are in the wrong for this. Guys, even if the NBA comes out and says, all right, we are no longer in bed with DraftKings and FanDuel, no more. In fact, we're not going to be in bed with them at all. Sports betting is still legal. Sports betting is still legal. And by the way, the players, they shouldn't be asking the NBA to move on from the partnerships with FanDuel and all that either, because it's those big contracts, it's those big business deals that put them in position to make the millions that they do. It's not all just the TV deals. Athletes just need to be grown-ups. Don't be idiots. Don't make bad decisions. It's as simple as that. Simple as that. The Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. The Justin Kinner Show also brought to you by the Dayton Weight Loss Secret Program. The Dayton Weight Loss Secret Program has successfully helped thousands of people, including myself, lose 20 to 30 pounds in a month or two. Call Dr. Justin and his staff today at Dayton Weight Loss Secret to schedule your free consultation in person or virtually. Give them a call at 937-999-1480 or online at DaytonWeightLossSecret.com. We'll be right back.
Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we are back. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun food, sports, and spirits. Last night, Tumani Kamara, former Dayton Flyer, of course, after getting his big extension with the Blazers. 10 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists last night for the Blazers in their matchup against the Timberwolves. I'm excited for tonight. Deron Holmes, Denver Nuggets. They're going to be at Golden State. That's 10 o'clock on ESPN. Obi Toppin will also be in action tonight as well. It'll be game 1 of the doubleheader on ESPN. So Obi Toppin and the Pacers in the NBA Finals rematch against the Oklahoma City Thunder. That is, of course, 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock, or no, I'm sorry, 7 on ESPN tonight, game 1 of that doubleheader. So we'll get a chance to see Dayton Flyer Obi Toppin in game 1, and then Dayton Flyer Deron Holmes in game 2. Coming up later on tonight. Kobe Bryant and the Phoenix Suns. So Phoenix did play last night. Kobe Bryant did not get any time out on the floor. I'm a Kobe Bryant fan. I think he has the size. I said before, even when Deron was in here, we were kind of talking about Kobe Bryant and what he brings to the table. I was like, he's kind of not in a disrespectful way, like a poor man's Klay Thompson, if the defense can ever be developed. But he has the size, he has the look, and he has the shot. But obviously the minutes have to come nonetheless. But he was originally drafted by Golden State, and I thought, man, that was the perfect spot for Brea as far as that goes, because you think about just that offense and running the floor with all the attention that obviously Steph is going to get. That would have been a huge opportunity for him as he continues to develop into the NBA. But again, a late second-round pick out of Kentucky technically, but he played the majority of his career with Dayton. It'll be interesting to see what his career develops into. But there's 4 Flyers to keep an eye on throughout the season, which is wild. Obviously, Kobe Bryant, who's with the Suns, Obi Toppin and the Pacers, Deron Holmes with the Nuggets, and Tumani Kamara with the Blazers. And Tumani Kamara's Blazers are, well, they're definitely in the headlines today, not for the right reasons, but for all the wrong reasons. Nonetheless, I don't know if you guys had a chance to catch this. I sent it to Kev last night. I was so glad. So I thought that the most overrated thing that was happening in media last year was the farewell tour to Inside the NBA with Shaq and Chuck and Ernie and Kenny and those guys. Now, I just thought, the show's not going anywhere. It's just moving to another network. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like the SEC, when it left CBS and all this stuff just to move over to ESPN, there wasn't a, oh my gosh, thank you for all the memories, SEC. Thank you. Although they're probably wanting to do that now. But the SEC didn't go anywhere, just went to a different network. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why we were doing this sob, like boohoo, thanks for the memories, inside the NBA. It just literally, like they said, moved over to ESPN. That's ESPN's fault, though, because that's how little trust people had. I texted it to Kev. I'm like, they left it alone. It was the same music. It was the same stage and setup and the sound and the feel and the vibe. I thought it was cool. The only thing ESPN needs to do now is they need to just get rid of that ESPN pregame show. This needs to be Shaq, Chuck, Kenny, and Ernie. Like it needs to be those guys. I mean, just the vibe of it, the feel of it, everything. Everything feels bigger with that show right there. I'm a big fan of that, and I just hope ESPN does make that change at some point. But Ron, WWE, they left, USA to go to Netflix. It didn't go anywhere, just moved networks. Like, we didn't do this, goodbye, WWE. It just went somewhere else. So I just thought the most overrated thing in the world was that last year was the farewell tour for Inside the NBA. It didn't go anywhere. It's the exact same show. Nonetheless. So we spent the last part of the show, guys, like some of the stuff is crazy. So Keith Tolliver, Keith, I hope you're doing well. I haven't interacted with Keith Tolliver Jr. Shout out KT. I hope you're doing well. But Keith Tolliver says betting scandal with Rozier is a problem. Billups poker thing, blah. Nonetheless, no, Rozier, like this isn't the first player we've heard be involved in something like this. Nonetheless, I think Chauncey Billups being caught up, though. I don't think the Chauncey Billups thing is something we should brush under the rug. I mean, first of all, Rozier's problem, yes, what he was involved with of literally, I mean, he had a group of guys, a group of friends that he basically told, according to some reports that I read today, that basically said, hey, I'm going to get out of the game early, bet the under on yada, 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 yada. And I guess like thousands and thousands of dollars came screaming in for this game, and it was red flagged right off the bat. And sure enough, he had a phantom injury, and he gets taken out 9 minutes into the game. There's also some other, they put a reel together of some of the, he's a fine player early on, and all of a sudden he's turned into this turnover prone type of player, just making sloppy passes and just making dumb mistakes, airballing shots. And, so, some of those could just be natural basketball mistakes, but you got to wonder, this is bad for the NBA because anytime there's bad plays, anytime there's just any, just simple mental mistakes, you're going to have people wondering. This is not good. When fans don't trust the product that they're watching, that is a problem. The Major League Baseball went through this coming out of the steroid era. Baseball had to do everything they could to punish those who were involved with the steroids to set the tone moving forward that we were not going to tolerate this. But what it ended up doing is for the next decade. And I believe what's happening. I believe what Rob Manfred is doing right now. Rob Manfred, and you guys may think that the steroid era was so long ago. The fallout from the steroid era, I think, lasted over a decade and some change. I think that we as fans didn't trust the product. The stars that we fell in love with, we were told we're not allowed to love them anymore. You're not allowed to be an Alex Rodriguez fan. You're not allowed to be a Barry Bonds fan. You're not allowed to be a Sammy Sosa fan or a Mark McGwire fan, right? Like a Roger Clemens, Andy Pettitte, like a lot of these bigger names that I grew up watching, I was no longer allowed to respect or be a fan of, and it changed how we didn't trust baseball moving forward. We didn't trust Ken Griffey Jr. I mean, we did, but like baseball as a whole didn't trust Ken Griffey Jr. People as a whole, we didn't trust Albert Pujols. There was a lot of players coming out of that steroid era that there was just that lack of connection, and baseball just really struggled for the next 10, 12, 13 years after that. And I believe that's what's going to happen with the NBA. They're going to have to crack down on this like you wouldn't believe, and it's going to take almost a decade before fans start to truly trust what the hell they're watching. Because everyone has absolutely, including me, I hate the load management era. I think the load management era is a red flag era. I think a lot of these injuries, there's lack of transparency when it comes to these injuries. There's red flags with all these because I don't know what's an actual injury and what's not. I don't know what's load management and what's not. I don't know. I don't trust any of this stuff as far as I'm concerned. And that's a problem for the NBA moving forward. People say, well, the offenses are just so good that defenses, they're playing defense. It just doesn't look like it because that's how good these offenses. Am I watching just such dominant offenses that there's no defense out there to slow it down? Or is the Olay defense the way to hit certain over-unders? Baseball I think we are just now starting to see baseball start over and be viewed and be viewed with clean eyes. I think this is going to hurt the NBA for a while. I think that this is a problem. And if this starts to snowball and there are bigger players involved, if a LeBron, can you imagine the face of the NBA for 2 decades now, LeBron James, if some crazy thing happens where he's involved in this, and I'm not saying he is, I'm just saying there's going to be some big star that comes that is involved in this in some capacity. And when that happens, you won't trust the big name stars. You won't trust the role players. I always said I didn't condone the steroid usage for players back in the day. Barry Bonds, I was always annoyed with, like, why would you do that? You're Barry Bonds. You were a Hall of Famer without it. Why would you? Mark McGwire, you're big as hell without the steroids, and you were so good with that. Why do you need the steroids? It's funny when you would get those no-name players that would get hit with the steroid, they get caught, taking steroids. And I understood why the mid-level players would do it, because the difference between taking it and not taking it is extra years in the league and being cut and released and your career's over. The star players were the star players no matter what. I judged the hell out of them for taking it. I understood why the role players or those fringe players who were just journeymen, hey, if I don't get caught and this gives me a little boost and I can stretch out my career over the next 2 or 3 years, that's 2 or 3 years I wouldn't have without it. I understood it. Doesn't mean it was the right choice, but I understood the choice, right? It is what it is. But yeah, what a wild day in sports. No doubt about it. And the reason I said this earlier, that the NBA is starting to become Major League Baseball, is because we don't talk about the finals. We don't talk about games. We don't talk about superstar players. We don't talk about highlights. We don't talk about any of that. You want to know when we talk about the NBA? It's, hey, did you see what Charles said to Shaq? Did you see that clip of that? Man, that was funny. The NBA is Charles and Shaq, and inside the NBA, it's the studio shows. We talk about how bad the studio shows are or how good they are. We don't talk about how good the games are, how bad the games are. We don't care, it seems. Fans just don't seem to care. The only time the NBA gets really talked about at a high level is when there's some big scandal. When there's something off the floor to talk about, that's when the NBA, and that was baseball for the longest time. We didn't talk baseball was not talked about unless there was some cheating scandal. The goop on the ball a few years ago, the Houston Astros, right? Like that's the only time, the banging on the trash cans, all that fun stuff. Like it just seemed like baseball would only be talked about. It would be nationally relevant when it was being talked about for all the wrong reasons. Baseball is being talked about now for all the right reasons. Shohei Ohtani hit 3 home runs and struck out 10 batters in the same game. It's being talked about for the right reasons. Record viewership. Millions and millions of people are watching Major League Baseball postseason right now. And we were told it was regional, that when your team's out, no one cares about the rest. There are stars in baseball. It's healthy. Attendance is through the roof. Ticket prices through the roof. Ratings through the roof. Man, baseball is healthy again. The NBA is not. We only seem to talk NBA when there's some kind of drama. The situation with Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers and this magical endorsement that he has / doesn't have, drama. That's what we talk about. All right. We're talking about the sports betting scandal now, ×2. Now the mafia is involved. It's constantly talking about off the floor stuff and never anything about. The NBA is reminding me of Major League Baseball over the last 10 years. So who knows? But all right. I haven't gone through the chat. I'm sorry, guys. I'll comb through this and see and interact with what I can. Again, we're live. The Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. Go hang out there. You can watch the show live and leave your comments in the chat. I see a lot of it. I mean, majority of you are on the YouTube side. So if you go to YouTube as well on ESPN Dayton and the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page, but on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page is where I interact the most. So head there now and take a look. If you missed our conversation with Paul Keels, we have that coming up in a bit, as well as our Jason Fitz combo as well. I want to talk Reds here shortly. When I first heard a few weeks ago, Mark Sheldon, who covers the Cincinnati Reds for MLB.com, put out just kind of tossed it out there that the Reds, they could justify moving on from Hunter Greene and trading him. And I was like, it's all right. That's where it's just a one-off story. It gets people talking. It got a reaction. But that was Mark Sheldon, and now The Athletic and ESPN and others are reporting that they're hearing that, yes, it is very possible that the Reds could move on from Hunter Greene. So now we're at the point where there's smoke, there's fire, and now I'm starting to really believe that the Reds can move on from Hunter Greene. We're going to talk about that when we come back. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun food, sports, and spirits. 937-518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. We'll be right back.
Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people.
1410 WINGAM.
Happy Halloween.
We are Dayton's ESPN radio station. The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN radio. Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show. Right here on ESPN Dayton. 1410 Wing AM.
937-518-1410, the number to call and jump in on the conversation. I'm Justin Kinner. Hour number 2, we are off and rolling here on a Thursday. Lots to still get into here in hour number 2. I want to get into the Reds more. I was able to kind of comb through some of this stuff here. So Keith Tolliver, a little bit ago, shout out to Keith. He says the betting scandal with Rozier is a problem. He doesn't believe that the Billups thing is as big of a deal. I disagree. Shaw brought up a good point here that the betting thing isn't blah. The athletes were fishing normal people to go to a card game playing with the pros, and they were rigging the game. Basically, normal Joes were getting their money stolen. Way more to it than that. Yeah, like imagine if, there's some poker tournament in Cincinnati and it's, hey, come play with Jamar Chase. Like, hey, you get to come sit at the same table with Jamar Chase. I for those of you who do Reds Fest, and by the way, Reds Fest is clean. It's fine. It's not taking your money. I promise. I mean, if you're losing your money, it's probably because you're bad at cards. But I don't do that because I know my limits. I can't play cards. My ADD. I can't pay attention enough. I like to talk a lot. Like I have a couple really good friends that love to get together and play cards, but like they get all serious and they like to focus and all this stuff. And I'm like, me and my wife, we just talk. So we don't play right. And then we're not very competitive. We don't really care. So that's just, it is what it is. I know my limits as far as that goes. But imagine if you found out that you were going to Reds Fest and going to play in that poker tournament where all the Reds players, a lot of the Reds players will participate in that. Some of the broadcasters and the Reds media, relations team. Imagine if you find out that there was the mafia involved in that they were working you and stealing your money with some of the craziest things. I mean, like I said, if you guys saw what some of this stuff was, they had x-rays on the card tables to be able to see the cards that you had. It's pretty wild stuff, the lengths that they went to. And it's almost cringe. Families involved. They had special contact lenses and glasses that would read pre-marked cards, secret cameras in the card trays. This is all bad. Like, even though it may not be NBA related, you have a bum human being in Chauncey Billups, assuming he did this. Yeah, that's kind of messed up as far as that goes. But either way, we'll see what ends up, what more of the fallout is that comes from that nonetheless. Okay, so I want to talk about this storyline that came out. So last week, right after 2 weeks ago when the Reds season ended, stuff came out right away that the Reds were looking to potentially shop, or don't be surprised if the Reds, move on from Hunter Greene. And of course, a lot of Reds fans said, oh my gosh, that is the stupidest thing. He's your ace. He's cheap. You have him under, player control for quite a few more years. Thank you for making the point that the Reds are probably making is, yeah, that's what makes him so dang valuable. And it's actually one of the few position groups that the Reds have a ton of depth at. That, not saying it's a good thing to lose Hunter Greene, but remember, if you guys have listened to this show for a long time. Remember, I kept bringing up when Hunter Greene came back out of the All-Star break. Remember when I said this? I'm not saying that the Reds didn't need Hunter Greene, but did you notice his absence? I said that multiple times coming out of the All-Star break. I didn't say the Reds didn't need Hunter Greene. I just said he's been out for 2 months. Did you notice his absence? The Reds were one of the best pitching teams in baseball without him out there. Andrew Abbott was phenomenal. Nick Lodolo was really good. Obviously, we know what Brady Singer, did. They added Littell in the back end of the season after the deadline. You bring Chase Burns up. Chase Burns, before, he had the injury. Speaking of phantom stuff, I still not a big believer in that injury, but that's besides the point. Before he had the injury, he was the first rookie in like decades to strike out 10 or more batters in 4 straight games. He was phenomenal. So as we sit here right now, I'm just like, the Reds, if there was ever a position that they could afford to maybe dangle one of their superstars out there to get something in return, Hunter Greene might be the guy that they could do it with. Now, I didn't put a lot of stock into the Mark Sheldon thing because I just thought that was one of those, and clickbait has a bad connotation to it, but it was a conversational piece, if you will. But a completely separate reporter, not really reporter, but media member has put out another piece and is bringing up Hunter Greene once again. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that, Mark Sheldon, he's only putting that out there if something got to him that made him think it was okay to throw his name out there. They didn't say Ellie De La Cruz, right? They didn't say, you know what I mean? Like it was, Hunter Greene's a very specific name to bring up. It's a wild name to bring up. If they didn't bring up his name at all, it wouldn't surprise me because it's Hunter Greene, but it is surprising that it's Hunter Greene, which means why would they put his name out there unless there was something floated out there that, oh, wow, there might be some legs to this. So the World Series, which technically hasn't even begun yet, and there's already articles and rumors out there about the Reds moving on from Hunter Greene, and it's heating up. There is something out there, guys. Like there is something that has been, I believe that the Reds have done this. I think that the Reds have purposely released this. There are the two names that have had this information. I don't think it's a coincidence. Mark Sheldon, and I respect Mark. Mark and I get along well. He's come on the show. But he is a very close relationship with the Cincinnati Reds. For when he covers them for MLB.com, but he does a good job covering the Reds. They trust him. I don't think it's a coincidence that he ended up with that information in some capacity. The next name that just released this information today was former Cincinnati Reds executive Jim Bowden. So I don't think it's a coincidence that now another guy that has close connections to the Reds is all of a sudden putting this out there. On Thursday, MLB analyst, former GM for the Reds, Reds executive for the Reds, he put Hunter Greene on a list of the top 10 Major League Baseball stars that will most likely be traded this offseason. I went from, okay, it was just a talking piece to now I think where there's smoke, there's fire. I would prepare mentally, Reds fans, for the Reds to move on from Hunter Greene. And Bowden goes on to say that one thing I do know, if they want to trade him, the Reds could get a huge return with the amount of team control remaining, and the Dodgers, Mets, Red Sox, Yankees, Orioles, and Giants are all likely to be interested. Bowden would go on to say, I think it would be a huge mistake for them to deal Hunter Greene, but we can't ignore the rumors because they are loud and no one is denying them. Do you remember when Nick Krall was asked about this a few weeks ago when they addressed the media for the postseason wrap-up? And he said, it is not fair to speculate on who will or will not be traded. I'm sorry, what? If I go to Bengals camp or if I go to Bengals media presser and I raise my hand and say, hey, Duke Tobin, he hides during the season, so it wouldn't be him. Hey, Zach, do you guys plan on trading Joe Burrow in the offseason? It would be a defiant no. There would be no way in hell. And they would let you know that because that's the answer you give when there's no way in hell you're going to trade your superstar player. But when you are open to trading one of your superstar players, you do what Nick Krall did. Well, it's not fair. Can you imagine if Zach Taylor said, well, Joe Burrow's been great, and I don't think it's fair to speculate whether we'll trade him or not. Oh, he's being talked about being moved. That's not the case. That wouldn't be the case. What wasn't said is what was said. I think there's something to it. Remember, look, he was drafted second overall back in 2017. He made his debut 5 years later with the Reds against the Atlanta Braves. All right. And in his 4 seasons with the Reds, he has started 91 games. He has an ERA just over 3.5. He was named an All-Star in 2024, and he also finished 8th in Cy Young voting in that year as well. When he pitches, he's top 10 in the league. No doubt about it. But he only, in the 4 years that he has pitched for the Reds since being called up, he's been really, really good when he's out there. But he has had at least a stint of 1 month or more on the IL every year that he's been here, even going back to when he played in Dayton. He's been hurt at every level along the way. I do not think it is as crazy as you guys are making it out to be that the Reds could move on from Hunter Greene. I think it makes all the sense in the world. The Reds are being tied to a lot of players with the, Duran with the Red Sox. I mean, that the Dodgers always have something to part ways with. And I also want to set the tone for this too. I would not be surprised if Hunter Greene is used to get a loaded batch of prospects to come back. I've stated this before. You have Ellie De La Cruz for the next 2 or 3 years. You have, obviously, a Hall of Fame manager in Terry Francona he's going to manage probably 2 or 3 more years. Right? You go down the list. You have Andrew Abbott. You have a lot of these names that are really only around for another couple of years. The timeline tells you only a couple years. If you look at Kyle Schwarber, the Reds are being rumored to be heavily interested in going after Kyle Schwarber. The Reds could offer a 3 to 4 year, $100 million deal. That also is why the Reds like Kyle Schwarber. If Kyle Schwarber was in his 20s and you had to offer him a 10-year deal, the Reds would be out 100%. The Reds are a legit threat to get Kyle Schwarber. People say there's no way they'd spend the money. The Reds are fine with spending money. They don't want to have long-term money. Kyle Schwarber would not be long-term money. They can go in the deep end for 3 or 4 years because his style of play, the way he plays the game, I think transitions safely over the next couple of years. I think he will age just fine. And guess what? 3 to 4 years, that fits Ellie's window. That fits Terry Francona's window. And that basically fits the window of time that this team is going to go all in for. I think this team's going to be very aggressive this offseason. People I've spoke to who've covered the Reds, that are with the Reds, all have said, buckle up. This is going to be a wild offseason, and it's going to be a fun one. I'm going to trust the people I've spoke to about that, and I'm going to believe it because I think I deserve it as a Reds fan, and so do you. And while everyone here is moving on from Hunter Greene as a bad thing, I think it's being done to position themselves because they have Andrew Abbott, you have Brady Singer, you have Chase Burns. Rhett Lauders looked really good in these games as of late. You have Littell coming back another year. You have the pitching to last you the next couple of seasons. All right. And you're going to add more depth. It's not like you're done. I mean, like you have Nick Lodolo, you have Andrew Abbott, you have Chase Burns. I mean, that's one hell of a 1-2-3 combo without Hunter Greene. Brady Singer's in there as well. The Reds are set up to be competitive for the next 3 to 4 years. And then they're going to blow it up. And once you blow it up, you have to have something right there waiting to keep the cycle going. Hunter Greene can bring back a ton of really good young prospects, and the Reds develop those young prospects over the next couple of years while the all-in side of the roster goes out to battle. And then when Terry Francona is gone and they move on from Ellie and they get more prospects back, now you have this young batch of prospects that now it's their turn and they start the process all over again. You don't trust the Reds, nor should you, because they haven't done anything for you to trust. But it does feel like the Reds are really entertaining this. I don't think they're going to just send them out to send them out. But also keep in mind, Hunter Greene a few years ago signed a 6-year extension, and he's getting paid on average about, I guess this past year was 2 years ago was $1 million. He's going to get paid $8 million this coming up year and then $15 million for the next 2. Guys, $15 million is a middle of the line starting pitcher. And they have an ace. That's your ace. That is a Cy Young caliber pitcher. That is a top 10 pitcher in baseball. And the Reds did an awesome thing by getting him to sign early. And he made a very dumb decision to do it. And it wasn't a dumb decision. It's just a dumb decision now because he left a lot of money on the table. But the Reds have a golden opportunity here to either keep them, yes, and compete with them, or to load up this farm system and maybe get a player that could produce for you right now in the process. The Reds are in a good spot. If they keep them, they're golden. If they move on from them, they load up their farm system again, and now they're one of the most competitive teams in baseball, and they have a loaded farm system. That's also a good spot to be in. Because it seems like the Reds are always in a position where if we're really, really good up top, we're really bare in the back end. And if we're loaded in the back end, that means we have nothing up top because we're waiting for those guys to come up through the system. The Reds have a chance to have their cake and eat it too. Do you trust that they could do it correctly? Probably not. Do I blame you for that? Absolutely not. But at least they have a plan. I would like to think, you know what I mean? Like if you have a plan, we could debate all day whether you trust them to execute it or not, but at least it seems like they have something in mind here. And we'll see what they ultimately do. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. All right, if you missed our conversation with the voice of the Buckeyes, Paul Keels, we have that coming up for you next. And then we'll talk Ohio State, Bengals, Jets, Browns, and Patriots in our conversation with Jason Fitz. That's all coming up next. The Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 14.